How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Peites, Daf 89 of Masechta BavaBasra. Friends, all right, let's start on Daf Peites with Aleph, 3 lines into the Daf. I don't remember what it talks about, but it talks about kind of stuff. Okay, fine. We're going to start on the 3rd line of Daf Peites Amud Aleph. Mokim shenagu lamud begasa vechule. Okay, so the Mishnah had said that a place where they use a big measure, so then you shouldn't use a little measure, because lots of little measures with lots of little extra heaps add up. I skip the parentheses. How do we know that we don't even? What's that? How do we know we don't even out flatten out the measure in a place where they usually heap it? That we don't heap it in a place where they level it. Well, because it should be a complete Ephah, which is a measure. So it should be a complete Ephah, and I guess it should be a complete Ephah, I guess however they do it in the place, whatever they do. And how do we know that if a person, in a place where they heap it, if a person says, you know what, I'm going to not heap it, I'm going to level the measure, and I'll push it, I'll take it out of the price. Normally the people heap it, I'm not going to heap it, I'm going to have a leveled measure, but I'll also charge less. Or fakert, I am going to heap in a place where they normally level, but I guess this is from the perspective of the buyer, I guess, but I will add on to the price, right? Meaning, sure, I'm adding more to the measure, but I'll pay for the extra. She'ein shomen lo, how do you know that we don't listen, right, that we don't do this? That basically we just follow the rules, that's what we do. Tamilomar, eifa shlema votzedek yeloch, that it should be a complete and righteous Ephah measure. How do we know that in a place where the custom is that with the scale, they throw in a shtickle extra, right? If you put meat, 1 kilo of meat on the scale, they'll throw in a little bit extra meat and weigh it down a little bit more. So how do we know that in a place where they tilt the scales, you should not balance the scales, and that we don't tilt the scales. Right? What? In a place where they tilt the scales, don't balance it. In a place where they balance the scales, don't tilt it. It should be a complete stone, meaning I guess like a weighing stone. And how do you know that if a person says that I'm going to balance the scales in a place where they usually tilt the scales, but I'll just I'll take it out of the price. Right? Normally, let's say the meat monger will throw in a shtickle extra meat, but I'm going to balance the scales, but I'll decrease the price to make up for that. Or fakir, that in a place where they balance the scales, if he says that I am going to weigh down the scales, add extra, but it will be paid for. We'll add it to the price. Shein shomallah, that we don't do it. Tamilomer even shlema votzedek, a complete and righteous stone. Rav Yehuda Misura says, Rav Yehuda Misura, lo yiyeh lecha beveischa, that the pasuk says it shouldn't be in your house. Meaning, and we explain this homiletically. Does that make sense here? Why not? We explain it homiletically that lo yiyeh lecha beveischa, you won't have anything in your house. Your house is going to be gunish. It's going to be empty. You're not going to have anything. You're going to be destitute. Matam, how come? Mishum ephah va'ephah. Right? I mean, the pasuk says, right? Lo yiyeh lecha beveischa ephah va'ephah. So because you did have ephah va'ephah, you had these different measures, sort of dishonest measures. So that is why lo yiyeh lecha beveischa. That's why you'll have nothing in your house, because you were dishonest. Lo yiyeh lecha bekischa. You won't have anything in your pockets. Matam, how come? Mishum even va'even, because you were dishonest with your stones. So aval, right? So the first one was your measures. The second one is your stones. Aval, Even shlema v'tzedek. But if you use proper stones, yieloch, then you will have givaldige Sachen. Efa shlema v'tzedek. If you use proper, honest measures, yieloch, you'll have mamish shefa. Taner Rabbanon, Amen. Taner Rabbanon, yieloch milamed shemamidin ar gidomin ar agardomin. That sounds good to me. Agardomin. Hopefully I'll remember that in a second. So Taner Rabbanon, yieloch. So when it says it will be to you, meaning will enforce that it will be so. Milamed shemamidin agardomin. Shemamidin agardomin, that we appoint enforcers, limdo lamidos, for measures. Ve'ein mamidin agardomin l'shayrim, but we don't appoint like officers for police officers for prices. The prices will kind of work themselves out. Meaning, if one person wants to overcharge, so nobody has to shop by him, they'll shop by somebody else who's going to charge less. But in terms of the measures, well, if you're using tricky measures, so that's just theft, right? When it comes to prices, everybody could charge whatever they want, and the consumer has the choice who to shop by. Devei nesiya okimu agardimin bein lemidos bein l'shayrim. By the Reish Gelusa, they would have officers both for measures as well as to enforce certain prices. So Shmuel says to Karne, poke Tonilu, go in and teach to them at the Reish Gelusa ma'amidin agardimin lemidos, that while we appoint officers to enforce the measures, the ein ma'amidin agardimin l'shayrim, we do not appoint officers to enforce prices. Nofak Darshlu, Karna went and he explained to them, ma'amidin agardimin bein lemidos bein l'shayrim. And Karna went and he told the Reish Gelusa that, and he taught them that we set up officers both for measures as well as for prices. Amalei mashmachs. Now Shmuel said to Karna, what was that all about? I told you to tell them that the officers are only for the measures, not for the prices, and you told them that the officers are for both. So Shmuel says to Karna, what's your name? Karna. So Karna says, my name is Karna. Tepukle Karna be'ene. You should have a horn, a horn grow between your eyes. Nafakle Karna be'ene. And sure enough, a horn grew between his eyes. V'yu kaman sover. Why did Karna say that officers should be appointed both for measures as well as for prices? What was the rationale? It's like Rami Bar Chama says the name of Rabbi Yitzchak, Ma'amidin agardimin bein lemidos bein l'shayrim, that we establish officers both for measures as well as for prices, mipnei aramoyin, because of the sneaky people, the tricky, the tricksters. Because the dishonest people, if you allow them to charge whatever they want, they're gonna end up taking advantage somehow. Maybe they'll wait for the other people to sell what they have, and then they'll sell theirs at exorbitant prices. Whatever it is, so he was of the opinion that if you don't enforce prices, then tricky people are going to take advantage. Okay. Tanu Rabbanon. The rabbis. Do we have any economists at Babylon Talmud? It seems like nobody at Babylon Talmud works. Is that possible? Every time I ask, do we have any farmers at Babylon Talmud? Anybody own a donkey? Do we have any oil mongers? Nobody raises their hand. What do you do then? All right. So, okay, I'm going to ask, do we have any economists? I don't know. If you're an economist, raise your hand. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Oyo mevakesh mimenu litra. Shokolo litra. Okay, so if you go to the beer monger, any beer mongers? You go to the beer monger and you ask for a litra of beer. So he weighs out a litra of beer, chatzi litra, half a litra shokelo, so he weighs out half a litra. Chatzi, wait, what? Chatzi litra shokelo. Shokelo chatzi litra. Again, Tana ben Hayim mavakish benu litra shokelo litra. Chatzi litra shokelo chatzi litra. Revia litra shokelo revia litra. If he asks for a quarter of a litra, so he weighs out from a quarter of a litra. My kamash melon. What's the chiddush? I mean, isn't that obvious? Like, yeah, you weigh out for him what he asks for. So demisakninon maskele arochi. What it's teaching us is that there are weights for each of those categories. There is a litra weight. There is a half litra weight. There is a quarter litra weight. So if, what's this? 1 second. Okay, I don't know. Anyways, so if a person wants 3/4 of a litra, so lo yomar lo shkoli shlosha rivei litra, you shouldn't say, I want you to weigh for me 3/4 litras, and then it'll be 3/4. Wait, litras are what? Are they for, I don't know. Are litras for liquids or dried things? I don't know, because here we're talking about like adding extra. And I guess you could even say it's talking about, liquids and stuff. Because basically what you're going to do is you're going to take the product and put it on one side, and you can take the weights and put it on the other side, and they just have to equal the same. Anyway, so Tana Rabbanan, so if you ask for 3/4 of a litra, lo yomar lo, the buyer should not say shkoli shlosha rivei litra, weigh for me 1/4 of a litra, and then another 1/4 of a litra, and then another 1/4 of a litra, because they'd always give a shtickle extra. So you're going to get a shtickle extra 3 times. Achas, each one individually. Ela shokel litra, rather what you'll do is, on one side he will put a weight of a litra. And then, on the other side, umaniach riva litra imabasra, in the meat. Okay, fine. So basically what you would do is, if you ask for, now what I don't understand is, okay, whatever, let's not talk about what I don't understand for a second. First, let's try to understand things. So be'etzem, okay, we're talking about meat, okay? So Reuven wants to buy meat from Shimon the butcher. So Reuven says to Shimon the butcher, I want 3/4 of a litra of meat. So Shimon the butcher puts the meat on one side. Now the thing is, what does he put on the other side? So we said don't give him 3 separate quarters, because then each time Reuven will be getting a shtickle extra, because we always give a little bit more. Rather, what you do is take some meat, put it on the scale. On the other side of the scale, put a full litra on the other side of the scale. But because he only wants 3/4 of a litra of meat, then take the 1/4 litra weight and put it together with the meat to kind of balance it out. And then when the meat plus the 1/4 litra is equal to the full litra on the other side, so then you know that you have 3/4 of a litra of meat. Now, the thing I don't understand is why not on the other side just put half a litra plus a 1/4 of a litra, because we just said that there's 1/4 litras and half litras. So why not put a half and a 1/4? Why put a whole one on this side and then a 1/4 on the other side? I didn't understand that. Alright. But then maybe they didn't have halves. I don't know. Akoponim. Okay, so that's what you do. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. If Reuven wanted 10 litrins, lo yomar lo, Reuven should not say shkoli achas ve'achriya. Give me 1 litra at a time, and then each time he's going to be, giving him extra. Rather, weigh all of the 10 litras together, and then you'll get, a little bit extra at the end, but not in 10 different times. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, nefesh moznayim tluy ba'aver gimel tvachim. V'gavo min haaretz 3 tvachim. V'kane u'misna 3 shela 12 tvachim. Okay. So be'etzem, a scale has a few different parts to it. It's got the, so either it hangs from the ceiling, or it could kind of stand from the ground. Now you'll have like some kind of I guess, like bar going down from the ceiling or some kind of like stand on the ground. And then there's the nefesh, there's the soul. There's the soul of the scale. And the soul of the scale is a crucial element. That is the part that the thing balances on, right? Meaning, because the way the scale works is you have trays on either side, and then you have some kind of like rod going like horizontally, and then you have like strings like hanging down from the rod, and there are like trays at the bottom of those strings, and then you put like weights on one side and the product on the other side, and it's got to be balanced. So the soul is kind of that pivot in the middle where like, the bar kind of rocks on and balances. So that's the soul of the scale, that kind of like joint, that like pivot in the middle. So Tanarban nefesh moznaim, so this kind of joint of the scale, tluya ba'avri gimel tfachim. So if it's a scale that's hanging from the ceiling, so it would be 3 tfachim away from the ceiling. V'gavoa min haaretz shlosha tfachim. Or if it's a scale that is on the ground, so then the stand would be 3 tfachim. V'kone umisna shala, and then the horizontal bar plus the strings at the end of the horizontal bar, I think from which the trays would dangle. The beam plus the strings would be 12 tfachim, 4 tfachim for each string, and then 4 tfachim for the horizontal beam. Vishel tzmarim, and if it's for vishel zagogin, for vishel tzmarim, vishel zagogin, for wool mongers or for glass mongers, tluya b'aver shnei tfachim, so then it would be extended from the ceiling 2 tfachim, v'gavo min haaretz shnei tfachim, or if it was on the ground, it would be a stand of 2 tfachim, v'kanu misna shala tes tfachim, and the beam and the strings would be a total of 9 tfachim, 3 for each string and 3 for the beam. V'shal chenvani, v'shal balabais, and a scale of a store owner or a homeowner, tluya ba'aver tefach, it would extend from the ceiling 1 tefach, v'gavo min haaretz tefach, or a stand on the ground for 1 tefach, v'kanu misna shala, and its beam and strings shisha tefachim would be 6 tefachim, v'shel turtane, and metal mongers, tluya ba'aver, like gold and silver and things, tluya ba'aver shalosh etzbos would be 3 etzbos from the ceiling, v'kavo min haaretz shalosh etzbos, and off the ground 3 etzbos if it's on a stand, v'kanu umisna shala, and its beam and its strings enio there. I don't know how much. Now let's go weiter for a second. Now the first example, we didn't say who it's for. The second example were for the wool mongers and the glass mongers. The next example was for the balei batim and the chenvanis. The example after that was for the metal mongers. What was the first example for? Amar Papa digrome. Papa says for like people who deal with like raw metals, like heavy metals. So basically the reason for the different amounts, 3 tefachim, 2 tefachim, 1 tefach, 3/4, 3 etzbos, is based on how much it's going to weigh it down, right? So for example, if you have these heavy metals, well then, those are going to be heavy, and you got to make sure that if it's going to weigh it down on one side, it's not going to hit the ceiling on the other side, so you have 3 tefachim from the ceiling. Whereas on the other extreme, like gold and silver and stuff are the lightest thing there, so you only need 3 etzbos. Alright. Reb Mani bar Patish says, Reb Mani bar Patish, Kederech she'amru le'inyan isurun kach amru le'inyan tumasun. So just like the descriptions and the requirements for the scales with regard to what's necessary for doing business. So the kacham le'inyan tumasun. The same things with tuma in terms of a kli being able to be makabel tuma. It's considered a kli at that point. My kamash malon, Tanina, what is it teaching? What's the chiddush? We already at Tanina. We have a mishnah. Chut moznaim shel chenvani v'shel balei batim tefach. That the string of the scale of a chenvani, of a shopkeeper, of a balei batim is a tefach. Kanu misna shala itzri chale. Yeah, sure. The chambani and the balabais we said is a tefach, but and that's in the Mishnah. But the chid, what's added over here is kanu misna, the lengths of the beam and the strings, which you said would be a total of 6 tefachim. Okay, it's three chale de lotana that was not in that Mishnah, so that's why we needed to teach these other things as well. All right. Turn over to the Rabbi. In osin mishkalos loshel ba'ats. We don't make weights of tin. Ba'ats, I think, is tin. Of course, I'm thinking of Mark Bodner. We have a cousin, Mark Bodner. He was in the aluminum geschäft. So I think he would point out that it's not tin foil; it's aluminum foil. I wonder what he would say about this. Veloshal aver, not lead. Veloshal gisteron, not. I think like alloys and stuff, like different metals merged together. Maybe if Mark Bodner listens to this, maybe he can explain the Gemara for us. What's tin? Well, what are alloys? Mark, let us know. So veloshal tzem, veloshal matechos, and not other kinds of metals. Aval also shall tsunma, but you make these weights of stone, v'shal zchuchis, and of glass. Ein osin hamachak shel dlas. Don't make the leveler of the measures. Don't make it of gourd rind. I guess because it's, I guess, light and soft. All right, you want something with a little bit more oomph, I guess. V'losham mateches, but not metal, because it's too heavy, it's too strong. Aval oseu shel zayis, but you make the leveler of olive wood, shel egos or nutwood. Nutwood. What's nutwood? I don't know. Shel shikma, or of sycamore, v'shel asbiroa. That's a boxwood. What the heck is boxwood? Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Ein osen asamachak tzido echad av v'tzido echad katsu. Don't make the leveler one side thick and one side narrow. Lo yimchok bebas achas, and don't level it all in one go. Shamochik bas achas ra. Because if you do it too quickly, then the seller is at a disadvantage because it won't level so good. And it's beneficial for the buyer. But also don't level it out very slowly because then it's going to be very level. It's bad for the purchaser while being good for the seller. Al Kulon Omar Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and on all of these things of Yochanan ben Zakkai said, Oiliim Omar, Oiliim Lo Omar. I'm in a tough position, right? Woe to me if I say these halachos. Woe to me if I don't say these halachos. Omar, if I say the halachos, maybe the tricky people will learn about how to be tricky, right? I guess little tricks on how to, get more or get less. If I don't say anything, maybe the tricky people will say, the Talmidei Chacham, they have no chance against us. They don't know our tricky ways. So I need to show them that we do know their shtick. We do know their shticklach. They ask the kasha, Amra Olo Amra, no, so Shpilkis, no, what did Rabbi Yochanan do? Did he say it? Did he not say it? What happened? So Shmuel by Rav Yitzchak Amr. Rabbi Yochanan did in fact say it. He said it because of the following pasuk, the following verse. Ki yesharim darchei Hashem, because the ways of the Rebbeinu Shalom are straight. B'tzadikim yelchu bam, the righteous will go on them, will walk on them. Ufoshim yikashlu bam, and the shmendriks will fail in them. Okay, 1 second. Wait, what time is it? Okay, maybe I'll take okay. We'll be back in a second. Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, Losaisu avu b'mishpat, do not do crookedness in judgment. Bamida, with measures, b'mishkol, with weights, b'mesura, I think like also kinds of like maybe liquid measures. Bamida zo midid skarka, when it says measuring, we're talking about measuring land. If you're measuring land for two people, so you shouldn't measure one person in the winter, one in the summer, because in the winter the rope is going to be longer, and in the summer the rope is going to be dry and it's going to be shorter. So therefore you're going to get to, I guess, different amounts. But Mishkal, And with weighing, shelo yatun mishkalosa b'melach, do not soak your, I don't know if soak is the right word, but put your weights in salt, because by doing so it'll weigh down, it'll make the weight heavier, which would be dishonest, right? Because if you show up to a store, let's say, and you say, oh, this weight is 1 kilo, and you say, give me 1 kilo of meat, but really it's 2 kilos, so then, you could be getting 2 kilos, but only paying for 1 kilo. But Masura, shelo yartiach, that you shouldn't, like foam up. I guess the seller maybe shouldn't include foam. Imagine you selling beer, like a liter of beer, and the whole thing is foam. That's not okay. So what's it called on beer? They don't call it foam, right? They call it head. Is that the head? Is that what they call it beer? The head? Is that the foamy stuff? The kavachomer musura shehi echad mishloshim v'shisha belog ikbida olav Torah. And if you have Masura, which is 1/36 of a log, the Torah was makbid. Kavachomer lehin. Certainly for a hin is 12 logs, as we learned, I think yesterday, the day before, and maybe the day before, that a hin is 12 logs. So if 1/36 of a log the Torah is makbid on, certainly a whole hin, which is 36 times 12 is that. V'chatzi or half a hin, v'shlishas a hin, or a third of a hin, v'revius a hin, or a quarter of a hin, v'log, or a log, v'chatzi log, or half a log, v'revius, or a quarter of a log. I think that goes about as v'tuman. A tuman, I guess, is an eighth of a log. I think a tuman was an eighth of a log, right? I think, what was it? Shminis hakav. Oh, shminis hakav. Wait, what? Shminis hakav? Okay. An eighth of a kav, which is, so one kav is 4 logs. So an eighth of a kav is half a log. V'chatzi tuman, and half of that, half of a tuman, which I guess is a quarter of a log. V'uchla. Okay, we're going to say how much uchla is. Okay, well, those measures, don't be dishonest. Amar Yehuda says, Amar Yehuda Amar Rab, also it is forbidden for a fellow to leave a measure that is lacking or extra in his house. I mean, you have to have the exact measures. Don't have measures that are too big or too small. That's no good. Even if it's a Ovid shomei meraglayim, but there's a name for that. It's a thing that you pee into. A thing that you pee into. You shouldn't keep that around either, because yeah, I guess technically you can clean that out and use it for a measure. But that is only in a place where there aren't official seals from the government, they officially seal the measures. But in a place where any measure that that measures have to be officially sealed, and you can get big trouble otherwise. Well, then if a person, even forget about getting in big trouble for now, but meaning if it's in a place where the proper measures have an official seal on it, well then any buyer would make sure, any buyer or seller, whatever, whoever is interacting with these measures would of course make sure that they see the seal on it before they deal with it. So in that case, leave whatever measures you want, because everyone's going to be looking for that seal. In places where they don't have the seal, it's only going to be an issue. It's only an issue if there aren't enforcers. Right, government enforcers about mahandisei leis lamba. But if there are enforcers, so then, making sure that everybody's using the proper measures, well then again, there's no problem, because anybody who's using an improper weight is going to get in big trouble. Improper measures is going to get in big trouble. Veloi, but that's not the case. Zimnin de mikra ben hashmoshos, but no, that's not the case. You should never leave around improper measures, because maybe it'll be like Erev Shabbos, Ben Hashmoshos, Mikre, V'Shakil, and there's a lot going on, and you're going to end up getting the wrong measure, so you shouldn't keep them around. Tanya Nami Ochi, we also learn in a verse like this, Liyasha Adam Mida Chasera O Yisera B'Soch Beso, a person should not leave around improper measures, whether they're too big or too small. Vafiluhi ovid shel mimiraglaim, even if it is an ovid shel mimiraglaim. Okay. Aval, but osehu sa'a tarkav v'chatzi tarkav v'kav v'chatzi kav v'rova v'tomen v'chatzi tomen v'uchla. The measures that you do make, though, right? Where am I? Aval, but osehu sa'a. So you have a sa'a measure. That's a measure that you can have. Tarkav. Tarkav is 3 kavs. So a sa'a is 6 kavs. Tarkav is trei v'kav, 2 kavs plus a third kav, so 3 kavs. V'chatzi tarkav, half of 3 kavs, so 1.5 kavs. Now, also, a kav is 4 logs. So 1.5 kavs is 6 logs. Okay, anyways. V'kav, 1 kav. V'chatzi kav, half of a kav. V'rova, a quarter of a kav. V'toman, which is anyways, what do we say? A quarter of a kav, and toman is 1/8 of a kav. Okay. Yeah, all right, 1/8 of a kav, that's what we said, right? Well, if that's a quarter, then the next one is 1/8. V'chatzi tuman, and half of 1/8 of a kav. Okay, now 1/8 of a kav we said is half a log. So chatzi kav is I guess a 16th of a kav, which is also a quarter of a log. Yeah, I think that makes sense. V'uchla, and an uchla. V'chama yuchla, and how much is an uchla? Echad michamisha bervia. Okay. Echad michamisha bervia. It is 1/5 of a rova. A rova is a was that a quarter? Wait, 1/5. It was like a 20th of something. Is that a kav? 1/5 of a kav? Wait, what was the rova? Echad me'ei belog. 1/5 of a log. A log is what? It's 4 logs in a kav. Yeah, 4 logs in a kav. So I guess a rova is a log. Okay. A rova is a log because it's 1/4 of a kav. So we said what? So echad michamisha berevia, 1/5 of a log. Okay. Is that what it is? Okay. Yeah, okay, I guess so. 1/5 of a log. Alright. Sounds good to me. Let's go on. So an uchla is a 1/5 of a log. What did we get to before? We got up to half a log, and then we got up to, a quarter of a log. Wait, so we said, was it a tuman is 1/8 of a kav, which is half of a log, because, 1/8 of a kav is half of a log. V'chatzi tuman, that would be a quarter of a log. And this is 1/5 of a log. Okay. Oh, okay, if I back up a little bit, sorry, there's a lot of small numbers. Wait, so we had a kav. I'm backing up to the bottom line of Pei Testament base. V'kav, v'chatzi kav, half a kav. Now remember, a kav is 4 logs. So v'chatzi kav is half a kav, which is also 2 logs. V'rova, a quarter of a kav, which is 1 log. V'tuman, 1/8 of a kav, which is half a log. V'chatzi tuman, a 16th of a kav, which is a quarter. I lost it again. Wait, I lost it again. Wait, what? Chatzi kav. Rova kav is 1 log. So tuman, which is 1/8 of a kav, which is therefore half a log. V'chatzi tuman would be a quarter of a log. And uchla, we're saying, is 1/5 of a log. Okay, v'chami uchla echam mechamisha berevia. Revia being a quarter of a kav, i.e. a log, so 1/5 of a log. So we had, a log, a half a log, a quarter of a log, and 1/5 of a log. Okay, that's exciting. Uvamidas halach, and when it comes to liquid measures, hu osa hin, so a hin is 12 logs, okay, a hin, v'chatzi hin, half a hin, okay, v'shlishis a hin, and a third of a hin, v'revius a hin, a quarter of a hin, okay, which I guess is 3 logs, v'log, and a log, v'chatzi log, and half of a log, v'revius, and a quarter of a log, okay, v'shminis, 1/8 of a log, v'echad mishmona b'shminis, 1/64 of a log. V'zeu kortov, and 1/64 of a log is a kortov, right? Kortov shel dvash. Okay. V'lai v'nami kabayim. So why not also have 2 kavs? I think this is going back to the beginning, right? So meaning, so we had said, right, if we go back to, where am I? Okay. If we go back to 2 lines from the bottom of Pei Tesla Base, it says, Aval osu sa'a tar kav, which is 3 kavs, v'chatzi tar kav, and 1.5 kavs. So we go from 6 kavs to, right, a sa'a, which is 6 kavs, to 3 kavs, to 1.5 kavs. Why not also have 2 kavs? Well, because osi lechlufe b'tar kav. Well, because you have 2 kavs, you might confuse it with 3 kavs. Well, alma to inche tilsa, which means that people will make a mistake by a third. I mean, the difference between 2 and 3 is a third. Well, it's 1, which is a third of the total. Okay, it's a third. It's essentially half of 2 added on to it. If that's the case, then kav nami lo le'avid. Well, then we also shouldn't have a kav. Because if you have a kav, if we're saying don't have 2 kavs because it might get confused with 3 kavs, well then you shouldn't have 1 kav because it might get confused with 1.5 kavs, right? 2 is to 3 as 1 is to 1.5, right? 2 to 3 is 2/3 and 1 to 1.5 is 2/3. So, but yet we have 1.5 and 1. So ela kabai ma'inu time. The reason why we don't have 2 kavs is because the la'avid, anu times la'avid, the asa lechlufe b'chatzi tar kav. Well, no, because 2 kavs wouldn't get confused with 3 kavs, would get confused with 1.5 kavs. Amatai inish riva, which means that people will get confused by a third, right? 1.5 to 2 is a quarter, right? 1.5 to 2, right? The difference between 1.5 and 2 is a quarter. Okay, ta inish riva. Yachi, that people will get confused by a quarter. Chatzi tuman, half of a tuman, okay, which we said was a quarter. Ve'uchla, which we said was a fifth. So the difference between a quarter and a fifth, I guess, is 1/5, which is less than a quarter, right? 1/5 is less than a quarter, lo li'avid. So we shouldn't have a tuman and an uchla, which we do have. We do have a tuman and an uchla. The difference between a tuman and an uchla is a quarter and a fifth, so the difference is only 1/5. So that is less than a quarter. So if we're saying we don't have 2 kavs because we're confused that it might get confused with 1.5 kavs, and that's the only difference of a quarter, and yet we have a quarter and a fifth where there's only a difference of a fifth. Right? Is that correct? What's a quarter minus a fifth? Well, the common denominator would be 20, right? So a quarter times 4 would be 4. No, a quarter times 5 to get to 20. So that'd be 5/20ths. And then you would have a fifth, so that would be 4/20ths. So 5/20ths and 4/20ths. So 1/20th. Did I do the math right? Is the difference between a quarter and a fifth a 20th? Any mathematicians here? Anybody do anything at Babylon Talmud? Economists, mathematicians, farmers, oil mongers? Did I do the math there correctly? Again. If we 1/4, I think I probably did do the math right? You find the common denominator. Oh my gosh, I feel like I knew this when I was like 7. Anyways, let's see, find the common, right? If we're talking about a quarter, so if we go to 20, a quarter of 20 would be 5/20ths, and a fifth of 20 would be 4/20ths. So 5/20ths minus 4/20ths would be 1/20th, which is way less than 1/4, and yet we have the chatzi tuman and the uchla. So Rav Papa rather says, Rav Papa midas ketanas b'kiyei bu inche. People are, when it comes to small measures, people are bucky. Okay, shlishas ein revis ein lo li'avid. Okay, so if we're saying, well, the reason why we have the small measures is because people are experts with the small measures, but then what about the larger measures? Right, a third of a hin and a quarter of a hin. Right, there's a difference of 25%. If people make a mistake by 25%, then that should be a problem. Lo li'avid came the avod b'mikdash lo gazbur abon. Because since those measures were in the Beis HaMikdash, the rabbis didn't make the gezerah. But mikdash nami ligzer, why not make a gezerah in the Beis HaMikdash? Kohanim reasoning, because who is interacting with those measures in the Beis HaMikdash? Kohanim, and Kohanim are very meticulous. Peace out.